Hey guys, this is Modest Intentions and my tutorial on Morning in Sydney. Basically this video is a guide, but there are gonna be some helpful tips as well for producers, and I'm gonna answer all the questions in the commentary box, so if there's anything else you wanna know that is not in this video, just ask me and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna answer. So first of all, we need to come up with the original idea to make a good sounding track. But as you make music more and more, with years and years of practice, you become more narrow-minded because you hear the commentaries, you hear the different opinions, and you start to understand very clearly what's good and what's bad, and where you should do something new and where you should include old elements. So you become really narrow-minded. You start working according to the templates, and these templates, they're just making your music unoriginal quite soon, and you won't be able to bring anything refreshing to the listener quite clearly. So what do you need to make something inspirational, something that catches the ear? You need to, and that is obvious, you need to have all your older projects on your hard drive. You need to have them, and there's one simple explanation to this one. It's that when you first start making music, um, maybe a year or two, maybe for somebody it's like more, for somebody it's less. You have these projects that sound exactly not the way you wanted them to sound in the beginning because you don't have the great experience, and all the elements you make in your first tracks, they're just turning out to sound the way they do by the great factor of randomness. And you make the drums, you make the bass lines and melodies, not because you're like really great and experienced and you know what you want the track to sound, but because you just put the notes and the sounds randomly, and then you just think like, yeah, this is good, this is nice, I'm gonna leave it like that. So this is the actual randomness factor, because when you get more experienced, you just know exactly what you want to sound, your track to sound, and you make it sound exactly the way you see it, you hear it. Yeah, that's actually good, but your ideas are gonna run out really easily. So what you need to make a track like Morning in Sydney, which is a very original track and you can't doubt it, you need to turn to your older projects. For example, the main theme from Morning in Sydney, which is this one. So the main theme comes from the melody that I made. I made that is incredible 8 years ago when I just started exploring FL Studio, and that's that's the origins of this melody. Let me show you. That was like so many years ago, but I still have it on my hard drive, and I still listen to my older projects from time to time, and that is the reason why I made this track, why this track called Morning in Sydney was born. One night I was having a great dream, and uh, in that dream I heard this old melody that you have just heard, but I heard it with the drum and bass beat, like going along, and I thought when I woke up I could still remember it. I was like really happy to remember it, and I was like, wow, that is some great idea. So I started throwing together a project, and I made Morning in Sydney. That's what it sounded in the end. Okay, I'm sorry, but this is not what it's supposed to sound. Okay, you heard the original anyways, I think, if you're watching this tutorial. So now we're gonna move on to the structure of the track and the VSTs that I used and the different elements of the mixdown, and I'm gonna explain all of them. There are so many ways to start off a new track, and most producers they uh, do it like in different ways. So there are people who make the kicks and snares first and put some breaks, and then they make some bass lines and they turn everything like into kicks and drums and stuff like that, and just add some elements around it. All I do is basically use I make the atmosphere, the beginning atmosphere. I make it, and I make the track around it. This time with Morning in Sydney, I had the theme of the Morning in Sydney in my head. So I made it with a guitar sample that I thought would fit really nicely. And then I thought that I should give some beginning to the melody. And I made the simple pad patterns with Nexus. That is really nothing complicated here. You can see that this is called Very Nice Pad for summer songs. I don't know why I called this sample like that. You can't really read the name of the sample because Nexus really doesn't want to show it. I don't know why. So this is the beginning pads that you can hear in the beginning of the song, and all I made is some simple equalizing. I put some chorus on it and stereo enhancer, and I used preset called for strings that really makes your strings wider, and it makes the melody fill the empty spaces in the mix. Then I made a second pad, which is one of my most commonly used uh, pad synths. It's also coming from Nexus, and no, we unfortunately can't see the name, but I called it Epic Pad and saved the preset, and that's how it sounds. I didn't really mix it so crucially because this is a very clean sound, and all I did was removed some low frequencies just to give space for the future drums, basses, and stuff like that. And I used a simple low pass here to turn the pad brighter as the drop is coming. Then I started making some drums, I guess. Yes, I was making some drums, and I started off by making kick snares. Now let's remove all the elements from the mix and hear how the original samples sound. As you can hear, the drums are not tight, not crispy, and not interesting. So I just picked the samples from the Vengeance Essential House pack and Danny Bird's drum loops. There, yeah, I used snares from the Danny Bird's pack, which is really a usual thing for a common drum and bass producer. So let's move on to mixing kicks. I did some basic equalizing, removing the unnecessary low frequencies and necessary mids because this makes kick a little bit too punchy in the spots you don't want it to be. Well, that's like unique for every sample, so there's no need to stop upon this. Then I used the Amphibia, which is one of my favorite kick and snare uh, mixing thingy. It comes with the AM suit. It's called AM Power Suit, I think, or something. And there are like crazy drum preset here called kick puncher and snare compressor, which I use very commonly. So let's see how the track sounds with how the kick drum sounds with Amphibia. Check it. Now it becomes more tight. Then you add some basic compression, and here we have the great kick. And this is just side chaining controller, so I'm not gonna go into details about that one. It's taking too much time, and it needs a separate video. So uh, this is the snare. Basically, I made some simple equalizing here, removing the unnecessary low frequencies, pumping up some 200s, which is very basic for the snares. And I made it crispy somewhere around here, giving the extra body to the snare. And I used Amphibia drums and percussion preset called snare compressor. So that is how the snare started to sound. It's more tight right now. Then I made some simple compression to make it even more louder and even more tight. And then I made a submix to the fourth mixer track, and I just added some multiband dynamics to make it sound more dynamic. That's it. I just don't find a better description to that. Check this kick snare right now. So that's how it sounded in the end. Then I added some simple break from the same Danny Bird's back. I just raised the pitch a bit so it sounded more funky. And that's, yeah, forgot to mention that I removed some low frequencies, but that wasn't really important because Danny Bird's breaks are very nice quality. So that's how it sounded in the end. So at this point we have this. I'm gonna move on to showing you how I made the guitar a bit later, but let's just skip it right now. I started making some pad melodies that would support the melody that I was the guitar melody, the guitar theme. It wasn't yet in the project, but it was already in my head, so I knew that I was gonna build everything around the atmosphere that, and that sounds a little bit complicated, that fits to the guitar theme. So I made this main theme supportive mellow. I made a special mix down. I made a special mixer track for it and added some stereo here, some simple delay with ultra-funk delay, making the right headphone a little bit faster than the left one, so it would like ping pong and make the synth a little bit wider. I made some reverbing here. It's my favorite reverb ever, called Tall Reverb. It's really fat and it makes your track sound very beautiful, in my opinion. Then I made some basic equalizing, and if we remove it and hear how it sounds originally, the synth is really bad. That's why it is important to be able to bring the necessary delay and reverb in the mix, because even the really bad sounding thingy can actually turn out to be very good with some amount of reverb on it. So that's how I made this melody. And at this point we have this. some Silent One plugin and drew this synth. This synth is supporting the main melody theme, so it sounds like this. It actually has so many low frequencies when you listen to it originally, but I really think that it's important to leave so much more space to the sub bass, and I just cut it off. So right now we have this. Nothing complicated. The only thing you need is to get your connection between what you hear in your head and what you want to be in the track. So you could be able to draw the melodies very quickly, or not necessarily quickly, but as you can see, I'm working in different patterns here. And when I make the sportive melody to the guitar, I actually hear inside of my head how the bassline melody sounds, how the guitar sounds, and stuff like that. You need to be able to have that inside of your head. Now, let's see. Um, I think it's time to show you how I made the guitar. People have been emailing me so often asking how I made it, and I actually didn't want to show it because it's like something that makes my music original. But let's be honest, it's not the original, the real guitar sample is just a sound, it's just a sample from Omnisphere synth. And it's called, I guess it's called double tracked string guitar or something like that. Yep, double tracked 6 strings A. That's the name of this preset. And I didn't really modify it, I just added some enhancer, some reverb, delays, and brought some equalizing. So that's it. And yeah, of course I removed the low frequencies. So that's it. And that's how I made the Morning in Sydney theme from the old track that I made many years ago. I was like 15 or 14 years old back then. And I magically remembered it because I still had it on my computer and played it from time to time, like, you know, like being nostalgic and stuff. And then it came to me. It all came to me in this way, since I've been passionate about drum and bass for quite a while, and that just came together. So that's what we have at this moment. And I guess there's gonna be like so many questions about how do you make those melodies and how it comes in your head. Well, that's something I can not give you an answer to because it just comes to me. So that's really a hard topic, and I don't know. So the next thing that we needed is to think about how the drop was gonna sound. So I made the basses. I made a bass using a sub bass using the Claw VST, which is a basic, very basic FL Studio VST, and people usually don't even pay attention to it, but it actually has some very nice and fat sub bass synths. I used this one called sub bass, a really nice preset. I added some, I made some compressing here. As you can see, I removed so many frequencies from the basses, and it still sounds really fat. That's exactly why I love this synth. Then some basic chorus and some basic compressing. Nothing interesting here really. So Now we have all the elements needed for the drop. So the drop sounds something like, let me show you. Also, I'm sorry that I have some crash samples and some effects removed, and I lost the percussion from here. It's called. There was a simple ride, just a ride, nothing special, but I lost it in time, so it's not there. So to make drop a little bit more interesting, I added some tambourine hats, of course, by removing frequencies from here. There aren't really many of them, but I still feel the need, because that makes me feel more safe. I remove the low frequencies completely so that there is nothing that interacts with bass lines, drums, and midsection synths for sure. Like, absolutely. Then I thought that this melody needed some interactions, so I made a second guitar, which is this. Sorry. Which is a basic preset from the Omnisphere as well. It's called Bluesy Lead. Here you can see it. Now you can use it if you want. It's on the same mixture tracks as um, the first guitar, so it has the same effect. And that's how it sounds altogether. With all the pads, with all the bass line, with the bass supportive synths, and this simple poison synth I made. That's how it sounds. Now, I added some piano in here to make some interesting transitions. That's a more complicated version. The original one is this. I'll just let you hear it with the track. This piano sample is actually a real piano sample that comes with original FL Studio. You can find it in the folder packs. So that's almost everything. There's nothing else to this track. There is some melody transition in here, which is this. Some simple snare running pattern here. I made it for the drop, and some rolls to, you know, like get a great expectation of a drop. There is nothing else in this track. It's really simple. And now that I actually have shown you the inside structure, there's also something on the master channel that makes this track a little bit more bright. If you hear it originally, like with the empty master channel, that's what you're gonna hear. But if we put the sound goodizer here that I used and this simple Maximus preset that I used, it's gonna sound on a whole different level. Check this out. that's how I made it, and this is the track itself. But it's not yet a finished version. We only have the mixed down version here. We have all the melodies put, we have all the arrangement and stuff. But this track was also like mastered outside of this project. I made a special WAV file and I opened up a project, put that file inside, and started working with PSP vintage warmer, some isotope ozone, some some other thingies for mastering, and that's a whole different topic, and it takes a lot of time to explain because that's too much information. But that's how I made Morning in Sydney, basically, just the main idea. And also remember that sometimes you don't really dig your track. You feel like it's great and all, but it's missing something. Like for example, the same way I felt about this track. I heard it and was yeah, it's good, but it's not fat enough. It doesn't move enough. So I started mastering the track later, and of course it turned out to be much brighter and even much more colorful than I expected. So really, don't give up. Just finish your tracks and start trying to master them, trying to bring some dynamics. It's really crucial, and you need experience. There's no special template for that, unfortunately. Well, of course there are, but you're not gonna make it perfect for a perfect template that fits to all the tracks you wanna make. So that's the end of my small guide. Don't forget to use your older projects and listen to them occasionally, and they will someday bring you the great idea, and you're gonna make something very nice, very fresh, and very vibrant. Thanks for watching. Bye.